So we've got an exciting few days coming up on Omni Garage, which means that you guys will have a lot of content.
Yeah, so both of us are taking a bit of time off work, so second half of the week we've got off, and we're going to go through and detail this car, and we're going to paint correct it, because in my ownership this thing's never been paint corrected, so hopefully we'll be able to remove some of those scratches and swirls and get this paint looking really nice. And the car looks awesome on camera, and I think every other car does look good in pictures, but let me tell you, when you're close up, it's an absolute swirl machine, that thing.
So this is a 2007 Subaru WRX wagon in the World Rally Blue. So it's going to be a really cool colour to work with. We should see an awesome transformation by the end of the series. And we're probably looking at about 10 parts by the time we start with our engine bay, decon, and roll our way through.
And that's why we've taken so much time off, so that we can get this done and get this corrected. And it's going to take a little bit longer filming, because, you know, trying to get the right camera angle for you guys to see, but hopefully you enjoy it, and hopefully you learn a couple of things, and I'm sure we'll learn a few things too along the way. We're going to start off with cleaning the engine bay. We'll use all-purpose cleaner and then finish up with some hyper dressing. So I've cleaned plenty of engine bays before. What I typically do is just grab the pressure washer, douse it down in water. This time I'm going to do a little bit differently. I'm going to tape up a little bit of the electronics, like the alternator there, things that are exposed, just so I don't get direct pressure onto it. It's all taped up. We're going to use the NTM short nozzle with the Koch K4, give this a little bit of a rinse down. And I suppose you just want to avoid putting direct pressure on your electronics and stuff like that. Just be a little bit careful. And just spray it all over all the surfaces. You want to be cleaning the engine bay probably first, because if you've spent all that time decontaminating your paint and stuff and then go and spray all these other chemicals all over the paint, then you're just going to get too much overspray everywhere. So definitely advise to do this step first. So we'll just let that sit and dwell on the paint for a little bit, and then we'll come around with our brush and agitate. Once you've let the Meguiar's APC just dwell a little bit, you want to get your race glaze brush or any kind of soft bristle brush and just go through and just agitate all the surfaces. Just agitate to loosen some of that dirt off. So now we can spray our surfaces down with hyper dressing, and then I'm going to close the hood, leave it and move on. And what will happen is the hyper dressing will soak really well into this plastic stuff, comes up really nicely. And then just at the end, you just need to come through once it's all dried and maybe just take a few of the high spots off. Just a real quick rinse, quick wipe with the rag, and that's it. Super easy process. So I've got this diluted this hyper dressing to 4:1, and 4:1 will give you a natural finish. If you do want it to be a bit more glossier, then go for like something like a 3:1 or a 2:1. Obviously you end up using more product. But that's totally up to you. I think the finish of this is nice, it's good enough. Shiny spots here and here, which is little high spots. So we're going to go around with a little rag here. So that's the end of part one. Alright, so this is the wash and decontamination step in our process. So you want to make sure you do this step really well. You want to remove the contaminants from the paint, because this sets you up well for the polishing stages. This makes your polishing a lot more efficient. So we're going to go through, foam the car. We're going to be using the Foam Cannon PF22, and we're going to be using some decontamination soap. Then we're going to go through and chemically decontaminate the paint using Tarex and Iron Decon by Meguiar's, and then we'll finish up mechanically removing any contaminants from the paint using the Nanoskin Auto Scrub with Nanoskin Auto Scrub Glide. You only want to be using this decontamination soap when you're trying to decontaminate the paint. If you use this when you've got a coating of wax and stuff, it's just going to strip it off. That's the whole point of this. Ah, you got me again, eh? That's why you always, when you go to squirt water for the first time and you put your little attachment on here, point the gun down before you shoot it, because imagine that on the paint. I know it's swirled, but jeepers. Let's give it a rinse down. So this is just the first rinse. This will hopefully try and remove all those big bits of dirt and stuff like that. Get a little bit of dust and things like that off the paint, so that we can get into there and really give it a clean up. well, and now we've got our two bucket system here. One's got decontamination soap with the Gtechniq XL, and the other one's got our rinse bucket there. So we're getting cleaning it, and we're going to try and clean top down. And the good thing about these Gtechniq pads is that you can wash one side, flip it over, and then wash the other side. Make sure that you push your mitt all the way to the bottom. In here we've got some grit guards. Scratch that pad across that grit guard to loosen all that dirt and stuff off, and then do the same in here as you're applying the soap to your mitt. I definitely like having labels on the buckets. That's such a great idea. Those other buckets I have are terrible. You just don't know where you're at, eh? So this decontamination soap's really good. It's slick. Do you find it's really slick, easy to move the pad over? It's not grippy or anything like that?
It is really slick, and it was really thick as well. You know,
Yeah.
It sat on the paint here for quite a long time. I know it's not particularly warm today or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has sat and it is really slick. I was expecting it to have more of a scent to it though.
I would have thought, you know, thinking about it being sort of from the citrus guy, what is it called? Chemical guy, sort of citrus wash, that it would smell sort of citrusy. But it smells kind of neutral, doesn't it? So just giving it a bit of a rinse down so that we remove all the soap before we come along and spray our iron decon and Tarex. But all you need to do is spray this down, let it dwell for a little bit, and then just give it a rinse down. And all these products, they all smell the same. Just really terrible sort of smell, sort of rotten kind of smell. So we've got a few little spots running there, but if you have a look at the driveway, it's definitely pulling some stuff out. You can see that it's pulling all the iron down, and on the driveway it's really clear of those iron deposits coming out. And you can see it here again. This is really nice here on just coming underneath that tyre there. So although it's underwhelming on the paint, I think it's definitely taking some iron out. So we'll let that dwell on the paint for 5 or so minutes, and we're just going to rinse it off, and you'll be able to watch all this purple stuff just ooze out of the driveway. So just like we did with the removing the iron, where we sprayed the iron decon on there, we're going to use Carper Tarex, and we're just going to spray it on. We're going to let it dwell on the paint, and then hopefully that will loosen up any of that tar, and then we'll be able to rinse that tar away. Same sort of process. You want to remove any tar so that when you're doing your polishing, you don't get any little bits of tar stuck into your polishing pad, because that's just going to create more swirls. So let's spray this on. So there you can see the bits of tar as the Tarex loosens it up. You can see it just running down the paint there. Bit like what happens when you spray Iron X on there. As it activates and removes the iron, you see the little bits of purple run down, but in this case we're seeing little bits of tar run down as it sort of takes it. So this is my first ever experience with Tarex, and I found it really amazing. I used to find the other products that I used trying to get tar really difficult. Had to scrub, and then when you scrub you sort of end up scratching the paint, but Tarex has done a really good job at lifting the tar off the paint, and you saw those little clips there of it just running down. I think that's really impressive, so well done Carpro and Tarex. Okay, so the last step in our sort of wash and decontamination process is mechanically decontaminating the paint, and we're going to use our Nanoskin Auto Scrub. The whole idea of this thing here is to spray some Nanoskin Glide on here, and that just lubricates this pad so that when you rub it over the surface, hopefully what it's going to do is remove some contaminants that are deep within the clear coat on the paint, and lift it up and remove it so that we're not going to be running over the top of it with our polish and then introducing more scratches. What I really like about this is that if you drop it onto the concrete down here and get dirt and stuff stuck on here, you just need to put it in the bucket, give it a little wash, good to go. Whereas if you were using clay, you take a little piece off and you drop it, then you have to throw that clay away. So it's quite wasteful. This is reusable, so you'll be able to have this for years to come. Just keep reusing it. So you really want to just spray lots onto the glass and lots onto the paint. Soak the surface down and soak this pad as well. Get it nice and wet, because this is just acting as lubrication so that you can glide this right over the top. Hence the word Nanoskin Glide. And you want to be quite forceful, and you just want to definitely get in there and make sure that you're removing all those embedded contaminants. Because this has a bit of a sticky back to it, you could stick it to your polisher, to the backing plate of your polisher, and you could use a machine to, not necessarily polish it, but you could use a machine to do exactly what I'm doing. I've never really found the need to do that. I feel like this is just good enough. So when doing this, you'll know when you've done enough, because if you rub your hand along the paint, it's going to feel quite grabby, and the reason why it feels grabby is because we use that that decon soap and we took all that slickness away from the paint, but there shouldn't be any contaminants on the paint. It should feel quite smooth to your back of your hand. If it doesn't, then you need to go over it again. So by doing this process, you are removing those contaminants, but at the same time you're going to be introducing a few scratches. So you definitely want to make sure that if you're doing this, that you're going to be compounding and correcting that paint to remove those little scratches that you're adding. Okay, so the last step in the wash and decontamination process is to give the car a bit of a dry. So we use the leaf blower to dry the car. We got it dry to about sort of, it's been sitting here for a while, so probably about 80% of the way. It was almost like you're just sort of pushing water across the surface. I mean, this is very, this is not slick anymore, it's quite tacky, and so the water sticks on here. So you saw when we were rinsing the car how that water just sort of beaded and didn't run off the paint. So we're just going to finish it off with some drying towels. All the towels that you're going to see in the videos have come from the rag company. So this is their drying towel. This is a twist loop kind of towel, microfiber towel, and we're just going to go through and dry it off, get it pretty much dry. We're really lucky we've done this in the evening, so now the car can sit overnight and all the door jambs and all the cracks can dry, so that tomorrow when we come here and tape up, we're not going to have water leaking everywhere. So I think we're quite lucky and we've timed this quite well.
We're on today to the inside jobs, which is taping this car up and then getting ready to do a test spot for our polishing.
Yep, so come on over to our shelves and we'll talk you through what we're about to do. Okay, so the first step in this part is that we're going to be taping the car. So we're going to be using some 3M precision tape, and we've got a little bit of 3M precision poly, and we've got different thicknesses here. The whole idea of taping the car is just to make sure that anything that's kind of got plastic on it, you want to have taped around the sort of things like the lights and stuff like that, just so that when you come to clean, it's so much easier to get that polish off. So to make our polishing job a lot easier, this had like a little bit of a wing on the back here. We've taken the wing off and it was so dirty underneath. It was absolutely filthy. So I'm really happy that we took that off. And as you can see, where the wing sort of attached to the body here, you can see how it sort of rubbed the paint dry. We'll be able to clean this up a little bit. It's definitely not going to look nice, but I'll know underneath there that it's nice and clean. So that's hopefully going to make our job a lot easier when we come to polish that up. The whole idea of this test spot is to work out what pad and which combination is going to do the best job to try and remove as much swirls and scratches as possible out of this paint. So we've got a few combinations that we can try. We've got Sonax Cut Max, and we've got Gtechniq Correction Compound, and Sonax Perfect Finish. So we'll grab a couple of these, do a few test spots and see what's going to work.
So just to give you an idea, these are the conditions of paint that we're working through.
So we're going to jump straight into the Ruper's coarse wool. Because these scratches are really deep, we want to make sure that we've got good cutting ability. So the first step we need to do is prime our wool pad. You grab a little bit of your compound, and we're going to use Gtechniq for the first little test spot. Put a little bit of compound on here, not too much, and then you want to grab your Ruper's claw tool, and you just want to butter this pad up. You just want to spread it around and make sure you get nice even coating, and you just want to hold it onto the paint for 20 seconds, sort of heat up the pad and get that nice even distribution of the compound throughout the pads. A little bit of pressure, 20 odd seconds. And that's the priming of the pad pretty much done. So we've got our couple of little pea-sized drops on here. We're going to start on this panel. This is the coarse wool with the Gtechniq Correction Compound. I'm going to spread it on number 2, and then I'm going to speed it up to number 6 to start our actual cutting part. So that's our first pass. Alright, so that's our 6 passes complete. So a couple of spritzes of your surface prep. Nice clean microfiber. You want to be pretty gentle rubbing this off, because you don't want to be introducing any more scratches because you're trying to take them out. See how much defects we've managed to remove. I've got heaps of stone chips on the bonnet, but We're not going to get rid of stone chips.
You should see that it has corrected out pretty well, especially in the centre here. We've got a few deeper scratches.
A couple of scratches just there.
Corner. But if we compare this line here and then come across, you'll see the basically the spider webbing effect we've got over here versus over this side.
On this square here, I'm going to try Sonax Cut Max, and we're going to do 6 passes just like we did on this test spot here. So let's get our swirl finder out and see if we can find some swirls. I'm sure we will, but hopefully most of them are gone. There's a few on the edges there, but that's just because I probably haven't got close enough, and there's a few just down the bottom here. So I would say that looking at these two just quickly, obviously the edges aren't perfect, but I would say Cut Max on our wool pad has done a pretty good job there. So I think the combination for us, and this is the whole point of this, is working through your pads and just seeing which kind of compound you're going to use. Because this time here now is going to make detailing this whole car so much easier. So I think we found a combination there. Cut Max, wool pad. Okay, so we've just taken the tape off that was through the middle here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to finish both of these sections now with Perfect Finish and the yellow foam repairs pad, and then we'll compare it to this section here that's had nothing done to it at all, so you guys can see how eventually the paint will finish out. So if you come back here and you can see the quality of the paint, so you can see a whole heap of swirls and scratches in this kind of area here. Then as we come over, a few little scratches down that bottom part because I didn't get too close. This here side has not cut too well, but this side here is cut a little bit better. So now to start your cutting process, a couple of drops on the pad, a couple of pea-sized drops, and you're good to go. So spread it. Ramp it up, and away you go. Okay, so we're getting through the front of this bonnet pretty easily, and I think we're doing really well. We're not chasing 100% perfection on this paint because, bearing in mind, it is 17 years old, but I think we're getting pretty close. Okay, so we're all done with the bonnet. The bonnet's come out really well. It has taken us a lot longer than we had expected it to take. So now we're just going to move on to these door panels here.
We've just started on correcting this wing on the ground. We've only really done this centre area here, just a couple of test passes to make sure this is correcting out the same. All of this area over here is uncorrected. And then we've done 2 passes coming through the middle here before we get all the way down to the end, and then we hit uncorrected again.
Alright, so we've just finished up compounding the whole car. We used the Ruper's coarse wool pad, and we used Sonax Cut Max. What we're going to do now is we're going to start into our finish polishing. So we're going to be using Sonax Perfect Finish. You guys have already seen this before, but I got to show you again because I love it. So just get the pad started like that. Get your claw tool, push it all the way into the center there. You can probably just see it poking through there. And then you want to peel the pad back, and off it comes.
We've cut in all of the corners of the glass using the Nano, but by all means, if we didn't have the Nano, you could easily do this with this machine here. It's just the 15mm throw of this makes it a little bit difficult to work into the corners versus using the rotary on that machine. So at least now I can jump in using this, knowing that all of the corners are cut really well, so I don't have to butt right up to them. And just cleaning the glass back, keeping in mind that this will be wiped down again, probably at least once more with M122 and with that 91% IPA before we move into the actual coating stage.
Okay, so before we apply our G1 glass sealant to the glass here, we just want to give it a good wipe down. We want to prepare the surface. We're going to be using 91% IPA and a paper towel so that the surface is nice and clean, ready for that G1 glass to sort of bond and cure to the glass. Okay, so the glass has now all been prepared, and now we're going to apply our glass coating here. So this is Gtechniq's version, G1 glass, and thanks to Nick at Detailing Shed and Gtechniq for supplying us with this product to be able to apply to the glass here. Gtechniq kind of recommend that this product here will last roughly sort of 2 years durability on the glass. So this is our little 15mm bottle applicator pad, and what we want to do is we just want to work in little tiny circles. And I can see, I'm not sure if you guys can see on the camera, but I can see the difference where I've been. It's sort of quite hazy, it's a little bit smeary. So I just want to overlap in a circular motion here. And you can see that already starting to kind of cure on the other side there. It sort of looks white almost. Okay, so we've let this sort of sit and cure on the glass here for 15 or so minutes, and now we're going to remove it using our Stoner Invisible Glass with our waffle weave towel, and this is from the Rag Company. So that's quite a nice product to remove there, and this glass cleaner is working a treat. We're going to come in here, we're going to remove all this tape, we're going to clean down our plastic trim, and then we're going to coat the car with CSL and then a couple of layers of Exo. So this is really satisfying. We spent a good couple of hours putting tape on here, and now we're going to spend 20 seconds to rip it all off. There we go. Okay, so the surface of the paint is all prepared. We're going to put a layer of Gtechniq Crystal Serum Light here on the paint, and the first time you're using this, you just want to make sure you really soak this surface down. So probably, I don't know, 6 to 12 drops on here, and just soak that surface down. And because you've soaked the surface down a lot, that means you can then apply it to a larger area to start with. And then we're just going to soak our suede applicator down like this. So I don't know exactly how many drops that is, but I'm just really soaking the surface down. A good little tip is to put the lid on this product, put it down on the ground so you don't have the tendency to keep picking it up and keep reusing it, because you'll just blow through the whole lot of the product. In one direction to start with, and because we've put quite a lot on, we can work in quite a big large area. And you want to make sure that you're going to cross over your path so that you cover all the surface. And you can see on the paint that there is a little sort of a deeper colour where you've been. And you just want to remember where you've been so that you're staying nice and organised. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it on the camera, but as you can see where I started here, it started to haze over a little bit. So that's when you know it's time to wipe off this product. When you're wiping this product off, you want to make sure that you carry your wipe over into adjacent panels just in case there's a little bit of contamination. And you just want to rub off all the high spots here. So the first wipe with this towel, the second wipe with that towel. When you're doing your second wipe, you probably want to include a little bit more of the adjacent panel, just so that you're not contaminating any other surfaces. There we are.
So we're just working our way around the top of the car here now. We're making really good progress here. I think you need to allow yourself probably about 2 hours to coat the whole car. Bearing in mind, it hasn't taken us quite that long, but there are 2 of us doing this. I think the key is just working in an organised fashion, especially if there's 2 of you doing this. Make sure you communicate as you're going and try and either work one side of the car each, doing the exact same things and talking as you go to make sure that, that no one's forgetting where they're up to or forgetting to wipe surfaces. And you can pretty much see straight away there the richness that the coating adds. Obviously this is quite glossy at the moment, so it won't stay quite that rich once we wipe it off, but you'd expect quite a bit of that richness to stay in the trim that you're working on. I really like CSL for trim coating. So we've worked our way around to the final door of the car, and we have a 30ml bottle here, and that is our level that we're up to. So we've definitely gone past the 2/3 mark. But we've got quite a bit left over. These door handles on this WRX are quite difficult. It's just a matter of taking this off the block and then you can work the product in. And just making sure we come onto the adjacent panels here to make sure that we haven't pushed any of that product across. We let the paint cure overnight. We're probably at about the 13 and a half hour mark now. So one of the things that I have noticed coming back to the car this morning again, which I forgot about CSL, is just how slick it is on its own. So I've run my finger down the back of the paint and it's incredibly slick. But this is not all that we're going to do. We're going to move into the next part of the process now, since this has had time to cure, which is applying the top layer. So the top layer is ExoV4, and essentially what this is this adds a hydrophobic layer to the surface of the paint. Is going to make it so much easier for us to dry the car. So the water contact angle improves. It means that water will run off easier, which means if we are going to get a leaf blower out and dry the car, it's going to make that process so much more enjoyable, with the added benefit as well of adding a lot of gloss to the surface. So for the first application here, we are going to soak the pad down really well. And now that should get me almost half of this hood. And I can feel applying this, it is incredibly slick already over the top of the CSL. So we'll let that sit. I'm gonna leave it for about a minute and a half while it flashes, and then we'll come along with our first wipe towel. We're gonna use a high pile. First wipe towel, second wipe towel, and remove that from the surface of the paint.
Okay, so that pretty much wraps up the coating stage of the car. So using those 2 products in combination is hopefully going to protect the car for a good couple of years now. And just walking around now, you can see that the richness and the gloss on this paint is really good. So we're going to store this car now for another 12 hours, let this cure overnight, and keep it out of the elements for a good period of time. And then we're going to sort of move on to our next stage, which is going to be working on these wheels. These wheels are filthy. So it's going to be really good to take these wheels off fully, clean inside the barrels, clean around the rims on the outside here, and we're going to get in and clean these wheel wells, and also we'll clean these calipers. So really excited to get in there and give this a good clean up. To start cleaning these wheels, I'm going to give them a quick rinse down, and hopefully that'll get all that sort of loose wheel grime off there and brake dust. Super easy to get in and out of these spokes with this. So I've got a little bit of iron decon on here. My guy's iron decon will spray the inside of these, and hopefully we see lots of iron come off these wheels. That iron decon's definitely doing its job, removing as much iron as we can. So we're just spraying a little bit of Tarex on here, Carper Tarex, to remove all this tar from the barrels of the wheels here. Let that sit, dwell for a little bit, and we'll watch this tar run down the barrels like it's doing already.
So just giving this a little bit of an agitation with my nail, just to remove those bigger spots of tar off there.
Okay, so we've cleaned up the barrels of these wheels. They've come up really nicely. I've managed to remove the little wheel weights sticky that was on there. I've managed to remove all the tar in here. So Tyrex has really been my friend in cleaning up the barrels of these. Okay, so you just want to wipe this hyper dressing. I've let it soak into this plastic for a little bit, but you just want to wipe it nice and flat. Okay, so I've just wiped the face of this wheel down with Meguiar's surface prep, ready to prepare the surface to apply our Gtechniq C5 wheel armour on here. I'm also going to prepare the rubber, so I'm going to use a bit of mineral spirits. You can use white spirits or mineral turpentine. Actually, I've got mineral turpentine here. They're all kind of the same sort of product. And then we're going to grab our cloth here and just wipe the surface of this tyre off. And I'm just using a microfiber. These are my wheel cleaning towels. And there's not a lot coming off them. This is keeping this rag pretty clean, because I think these wheels are, well, the tyres here are pretty clean because these are only really new. Okay, so we had a little bit of a joke the other day on our wash and talk video about whether or not I would denib the face of these tyres, and I said I wouldn't. But old mate over here couldn't help himself, so he got the razor blade out, and the face of these wheels have all been denibbed. So no nibs on here, much to my disgust, but I'm pleased that he's happy with himself and that he managed to get around and do that. Okay, so we're all ready to apply our wheel coating, so we're going to be using our Gtechniq C5 to these wheels. Soak our microfiber down. We do have the 15ml bottle here, so we're going to have to be a little bit sort of sparingly with it, just to make sure that we do have enough to coat all the way around here. And this has a relatively fast flash time. So sort of 60 seconds or so is their flash time once you've applied it. So we have to move pretty quickly. Working in a nice organised fashion. I've taken the suede applicator off the foam block because it's easier to get in and out of these spokes here. Okay, so just finishing up applying a little bit of coating to the caliper now. And should also make these clean up a lot easier too in the cleaning process. So same again, you just want to stay nice and organised with your cloth here. Alright, so now that we've coated sort of one wheel and one caliper, we need to let it cure. So Gtechniq have recommended that you let this cure for sort of 12 odd hours without any exposure to the elements. And so we'll make sure that we do that before we drive this thing anywhere. So just while we're letting the face of these wheels cure for the next couple of hours or so, we're going to just apply our tyre dressing, so OG tyre dressing. I believe this is made by B&B Blending, and Matt from Obsessed Garage has just put his logo on there. This stuff smells really nice. It's got a really nice pleasant smell, and it's nice and thick. So we're going to apply it with our XL race glaze brush, spray away from the car that you've spent hours trying to get right. And we'll just apply this on. It's nice and thick, so we prepped the tyres before with that mineral turpentine, so hopefully this tyre dressing really takes to the surface here.
So we're wiping off the high spots and really just spreading this evenly.
Today we're going to dial in the interior, so we're going to be ripping out the seats, we're going to steam them and use an extractor to really clean out that upholstery. Just vacuuming up these seats and the mats and stuff. Alright, so we've got the driver's seat here, we've got our Koch SC3, this is going to be our steamer, and we're just going to steam the upholstery here, and this will just get the surface slightly wet, and then we'll be able to agitate it. So this Koch Chemie deep interior cleaner. It's got a really nice sort of, I guess, clean smell. It's kind of smells slightly sanitized, which is a really nice smell, especially when you want that in your interior. So we'll let this sort of dwell into the upholstery here. We're going to use our steamer on our high setting, and using that steamer is going to help allow this product to work a bit more efficiently, and it's also going to help break down the dirt and grime into this upholstery. And then we'll use our extractor, and by extracting all this out, it's going to help remove all the product. At the same time, it's going to pull that dirt and grime out. And you can see all that stuff just getting pulled out. A bit of that's the product that we've put in there, a bit of that's the steam and the water, but most of that is the dirt that's been sitting on this upholstery. I don't know if it'll pick it up very well on the camera, but definitely down here at eye level you can definitely tell the difference. So we've got the driver's side floor mat here. We've done the other floor mats, and same process that we used to clean the seats with. We'll give them a light steam first, then we'll spray on our product, agitate, steam again, and then extract. So this is the dirt that we've collected out of the driver's seat and out of the driver's floor mat. So we'll look how disgusting that is. So as I pour this out, you'll be able to see that we are extracting yuck dirt. So now we've come to the inside of the car. Now we're going to start and clean the interior trim. So we're going to clean up through the center console here and up into the dash. We're using P&S Express Interior Detailer, and this stuff smells, what should I say, it's sort of got this sort of pukey pineapple kind of smell to start with, but as you get in and use it, and as you use it more and more times, you start to enjoy that smell, and it becomes quite pleasant. So definitely, if I was to choose between the smell of the P&S interior cleaner as opposed to the Koch Chemie interior smell, the Koch Chemie would definitely win. That's definitely a lot more pleasant than this smell. Okay, so we'll get our steamer, steam very lightly in here.
What are you doing, making a latte in there?
Yeah, making a P&S puke latte. Would you like steamy milk, sir? And then we've got our Rag Company interior towels, and we're just going to wipe off all of that water and the cleaner as well. Where this P&S interior cleaner comes in really good use is that it's perfect for cleaning your dashes because it cleans it and it doesn't leave this big, bright, shiny sort of lacquer look to the dash. It just gives it a nice natural finish, which is really good. Going to clean the steering wheel. We're going to be using the Koch Chemie deep interior clean on this vinyl here. This is not leather. Well, I hope it's not leather. I'm pretty sure it's vinyl. So just using this brush here just to agitate it here and break down whatever's stuck into this vinyl material. Look at that. So that's just a couple of little twists on that steering wheel and all that sort of yuck dirt's come out. We've just given these carpets a bit of a vacuum, and now we're going to steam and clean these up using the same sort of process that we've used for everything. So the same thing that we've used on the carpets, the same thing that we've used on the seats. So So we're making pretty good progress. You can see that we've been in here. We do need to give this a little bit more of a vacuum out in here, but you can definitely see, if you zoom down on the camera there, you can definitely see where we've been and where we've got left to go. So this definitely looks a lot cleaner. It's definitely a lot black. The colour's a lot blacker, so that I know it's a little bit wet, but we've definitely extracted a lot of that dirt out of there, dirt and dust and stuff, and you can see where this is quite dull. So this is the part where people's feet mainly go. Don't have too many people in the back, so we'll be able to see if the front's any dirtier. We are ready to put these seats back in. Hopefully they go in just as easy as they came out. So we're ready to put these bolt these bolts back in. Okay, so the floor mats are in, seats are all in, they're all torqued down, so that's pretty much a wrap on our interior detailing part of the series. So really happy with how things turned out. The seats came up amazing, so all the stains are pretty much removed. There is a little bit here and there where they're a little bit wet, and that might pick up on the camera as a stain, but trust me, there's no stains in here. Alright, so that's a condensed down version of the 100-hour detail series that took place recently on the 2007 WRX.
So what we did is we recorded full versions of all of the parts of the series that you just saw condensed down in this video. So if you're interested in checking those out, there's over 4 hours worth of content that you can see, and that playlist will be up in the corner right now.
Alright, so that's just about it. So stay tuned for more OEM Plus right here on the Omni Garage.